Good evening. Now, Irma, do you have that? You don't have that together that I've given to you? Not until Sunday morning? All right, let me read it to you. You hear this every morning if you listen to Keith Moore. You're in faith school. That's where you're at.
That's right. Good one.
It is a place where your spirit is fed. My faith grows stronger, and I learn how to be an overcomer.
Amen.
That's where you're in faith school tonight, and we're going to teach you how to become an overcomer. Now, let me, let me take off. We're going to talk about the law of seed time and harvest. Very seldom we talk about this, but it's something that needs to be talked about. You need to know, because you better get yourself ready. One of the pastors I had, it's been quite a few years ago, Pastor Hubbard, who's in heaven now, he said this one thing over and over and over, and I was wondering what he was talking about. He said, there's a storm coming. There's a storm coming. Let me tell you, it's here. It's here. It's here. And it may come here. Honduras, I understand that next month, I think it's next month, they are actually closing the whole state down. You can only get out once a week to go do whatever you got to do. Closing it down. The whole nation.
Yeah.
It's like the United States would be just shut down. You can't go outside the door.
Right. Right.
What would happen if that was here? It was close to it. They wanted you to stay in as much as you could. I know that. But what would happen if all of a sudden the government locked down your bank? What would happen? What would you survive on? What would you have? You better know what seed time and harvest is all about. Because when this happened to the children of Israel, when it was going out in the desert, seed time and harvest was God provided for them every day. Something you got to know, that Philippians 4:8 says, "My God shall supply." But He only does this if you know what seed time and harvest is all about. He can only do it by your faith. And so you need to begin to develop your faith in the areas of money, how to take care of your money. Let me give you just a little bit that, see, God set this one up. He said, when you get a check, whatever it is, He said, the 10th of it belongs to me. He didn't ask you, was it all right? He just said, the 10th belongs to me. He just automatically said that. And also it says it in Leviticus. If you go to the last chapter, the last 3 verses, it says it. It says that, actually it's 27, the last 3 verses. I don't remember the name or the number of the verses. But it says that the tithe is the Lord's, belongs to Him. Belongs to Him, not even yours. You're a steward of the tithe that you get, of the money. If you get $100, you're a steward of the 10 that belongs to God. He said, bring that to me. And here's what He taught His people. You bring me the tithes, but then you set something aside for yourself. Here's what they do. They tithe on 10, and they put 10% of it in the bank immediately. That's how Jews are taught. Everybody thinks, well, the Jews are rich. No. They may be rich, but they were taught what to do with the money. We spend it. We just spend it. A lot of times on nothing. You can go to your closet and look at a lot of stuff that you probably bought, that you've never wore, that you have, that you've never touched. We just spend it. But then in that, 10% belongs to God, 10% belongs to you, then you have what's left, the 80% left that you live on. And some of that is when God says, now some of that, you need to learn how to trust me with giving me more of it. Give me some of it. That's right. And this is what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. I'm going to talk to you about it. I learned this some time ago. The only thing I knew when I got married, that I watched Mom and Dad, they never bought anything except they could mortgage it and pay so much off a month. That's how they lived. So I thought that's how you live. That's just the way I was taught how to live. So you go down and buy something. I remember them at Christmas back when, where was I at? 4th grade, 5th grade? No, what am that for? I may be 5 or 6 years old, something like that. I remember Mom and Dad bought 3 bicycles. One for me, one for my sister Betty, and one for Daryl. 3 bikes. And it cost them $100. And it took them a year to pay that $100 off. Maybe, I think it was $10 a month, so it was 10 months to pay off 3 bikes. And see, the church, we're at the point that we can't do that. You can't do that no more. You're going to have to come to the point that you may not be able to go there now, that it's time for you to begin to put money in the bank. Every time you give God the tithe, you put some of the money in the bank for yourself and do not touch it. Do you understand that? That you carry something in your wallet at all times. You never go out of the house broke. You never know what you may need. You never know, you know. We got these little plastic cards we punch in there, and then at the end of the month, they come, oh, I didn't mean to charge that much. And here it is, a charge account over the months. Now you got to get it paid off. You got to get that out of your system. Yes. That's got to be gone. Yes. If you can't afford it, don't buy it. That's right. That's right. Don't buy it. In other words, put it inside you. If that's what you want, then you begin to put money aside for you. Put it in the bank, put it somewhere aside until you get the money, and then go buy it. Do you understand this? Yes. Seed time and harvest. If once you learn the principle of seed time and harvest, then your life will change. But that, you know, and I remember when I received the Lord, and wife, Willie, the pastor, well, she was going to a Baptist church at this time. So that's where she started. And the Baptist preacher came over to the house and led her to the Lord. About a month. So she's not sitting there, so she can't correct me real quick, but she will when I get home, so it doesn't matter. She's watching me. I think it was about a month before I got saved in that area. And I said, well, I will not go to a Baptist church. I have nothing against Baptists, but I won't go to a Baptist church. And I would come to find out, Pastor McAdoo, who was my pastor when I lived in Merced before we moved away, had a church in Sunnyvale, which is 36 miles from our house. And I said, well, that's where we're going. I called up to find out exactly where they were, you know, the address. And since I lived in that area and I worked all over the place, I knew where the church was. So we just drove to the church. And we started going to church there. 36 miles away, we were there. And we started going there. And I said, you know, we invited Pastor McAdoo and his wife to our house for a dinner. And I set him down. I said, you tell me what I'm supposed to do on the tithing. It's never been taught in the churches. The Pentecost Church of God do not tithe. They teach on tithing. They won't do it. I have no idea. You know, they'll receive offerings and tithing, but they don't tell you the benefits of this. There's always a benefit of everything you do for God. You can't do something for him and him not wanting. He is, I mean, when I say a jealous God, let me put it in a good way. If you do something for him, he's so jealous, he got to do something good for you right back. He wants to bless you. Let me put it that way. He wants to bless you. But it can only do it on the level of your faith. Your faith has to come up. It has to, you've got to get your faith in there. And so I asked him, and we began to do it. I said, okay, now I consider myself a tither from this day forth. That's all, I will be a tither. I've never had a problem since that day, over 30 years ago. I've never had a problem giving God his part. And sometimes there was nothing left when I did that. We'd be out. I couldn't, you know. We lived on 20 acres. And for 1 year, God was good to us. We didn't have any money. We were broke. We were tithing. We were giving to God. But for some reason, on my 20 acres, that one summer, the rabbits showed up on my land. The boys and I ate rabbits that winter. We had a lot of rabbits. Fried rabbit is good. Really good. You like it, huh, Pop? Fried rabbit is good. Yeah. Yeah, anyway, fried rabbit is good. And so I thought, fried rabbit. Rabbits showed up on my property. Their cottontails run all over the place. They were never there. Just for a little season. They were there for a while, and they're all gone. I don't know where they came from. It's like manna from heaven.
There you go.
Like manna from heaven. And so I remember this thing. God was putting things together, and I remember this one thing. Wife and I wanted to buy a house, but we had no money. But we had a lot of bills. I said, what we're going to do, we're going to open up a bank account and put $5 in it. Back then you could. You can't do it now, I don't think. We started with that way. And also we began to look at our bills. I said, why don't we, with every extra bit of money we have, why don't we begin to take one thing in our life for the bills and begin to put all the extra we can on this one thing. When we get it paid off, now we can take that money and put it on another one, and that one, and put it on another one, and that one, and it wasn't taking long until we had everything paid off. Now, we began to put money away much quicker now. And the day came. Actually, it came, and I told my wife, I says, we're going to buy us a house. We're going to buy a house. We're going to put our mind to it. We didn't go nowhere. We didn't do anything. We stayed home. If we wanted to do anything, we'd pop some popcorn and get in front of the movie and just watch Disneyland, a Disney movie. We enjoyed it. Within 1 year to the day we made the announcement, we're going to buy a house, on that 1 year to the date, we moved into that house. Because we set our mind to it. Let me show you in the Word where this comes from. When you begin to learn a principle from God, then things will begin to work. Because you can put your trust in it. You can put your faith in it. The laws of seedtime and harvest. Go to Mark 4 and 20. Actually, go to Mark 4 and 14. Mark 4, 14 to 20. The sower soweth the word. These are by the wayside when the word was sown. Look at what it says. When the word was sown, but when they have heard, Satan cometh immediately to take away the word that was sown in the heart. Remember, every time you sow something, every time you put something in there to believe it, Satan's coming after that thing with everything he's got. And these are likewise sown on good ground, and when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness and have no root in themselves. You don't believe in what you're really after. You have to make a quality decision upon what you're believing God for. Quality means there is no retreat, no backup. You never stop, no matter what's taking place. You put the stake down, and that's it. I'll die before I go back on my word. That's what he's saying. That's what that was saying. Number 16, we did that one. Number 17, and having no root in themselves, but endure for a season, but endure for a time afterwards, when afflictions or persecution arises for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. You've got to stay out of this. You cannot get offended because it doesn't come on your time. It doesn't happen on your time. God will always do it on His time. Forget your time. Your time don't mean a thing. Number 18. And these are which are sown among thorns, such as hear the word, and the cares of this world, and deceitfulness of riches. I've had people in my church said, okay, because we've taught on it, very seldom but I'm going to get there tonight, that there is 100-fold return in the Bible that you can believe God for. And so I taught that one night, and I remember somebody came to me and said, okay, I'm going to put $5 in the offering, and I'm going to get $500. I thought, you didn't hear anything. You didn't hear nothing. In fact, I said, you need to keep your $5 because you're not going to get anything. You better hang on to it. But they didn't, what you have to do, I've said it over and over, you've got to develop your faith until that word begins to talk to you. So that word is so real to you that you won't turn it loose. It's more real to you than anything else. Number 20, okay. And these are sown on good ground. These are the ones that sown on good ground, such as hear the word and receive it and bring forth some 30, 60, and 100. That is a Bible principle. That is a Bible principle that we can live on. All right. Philippians 4:8, we've already quoted it. For my God shall supply all my needs according. Oh, that you mean that one? Oh, that's right. I got the 4:16. Let me 4:8. Stay with 4:8. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, honest, a good report. They're honest. What is just, what is pure, what is lovely. He said, think upon these things. Think upon these things. If there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think upon these things. In other words, keep your mind set upon the goal that you set in front of you. Before you start anything, get a goal inside you. Get a goal. See, one thing you're going to see in the Word about seed time and harvest, that a lot of people say, well, I'm a tither. That's good. But tithing is only one portion of it. You got to be a giver. You got to go past the tithing. You got to become the giver. I'll prove it to you through the scriptures. All right, go to Genesis 8:22. Genesis 8:22. While the earth remained, look what he says. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. Do you understand that? Are we in summertime right now? No. Why? It passed. It passed. What are we in now?
Fall.
We're in fall. Remember, Sunday morning, what are you going to do?
Fall back.
You're going to fall back for 1 hour.
That's right.
If you come early, that's fine. Some of you will be on time.
Come on now.
All right, Sunday morning, remember, it is not 6:51 right now. It will be only 5:51. Sunday. It's going to go fall back. All right? But he said, while the earth remains, while the earth is here, this will not stop. This is the law. It's going to stay this way. You understand that part?
Yes.
It's not going to change. So as we look at this, Psalms 89:34. Find out what it is. This is called seeds are the laws of multiplication. Seeds are the laws of multiplication. Psalms 89:34. He said, my covenant I will not break. In other words, his word is his covenant. I'm not going to break it, nor alter the things that's gone out of my lips. In this thing they call the sickness, how many times have we heard different people alter the words that come out of their lips concerning this thing? That they call the big doctor. When he first came out, you don't need a mask. Pretty soon he said, you need a mask. Then he came back and said, well, we're past the mask. Now he come back and said, we need the mask. He alters them all the time. He don't even know where he's at. I don't even think he knows he's up in the morning. Good thing someone showed him how to put his pants on. He probably wouldn't know how. His mind is messed up. Why? Because people are telling him what he has to say. Nobody tells God what to say. He's already said it. It's final authority. That's the way it's going to be. Now, let me show you this one. Go to Genesis 11, 4-7. Genesis 11, 4-7. Let me see if you can grasp this. This comes out of the lips of God, saying this. And they said, this is children of Israel, they said, go to, at this time, I could imagine there's about, there's 2 million people left left the promised land, or headed for the promised land, and left Egypt. They left over 2 million people. They're here now, and now they're going to build us a tower. They're going to build something. In other words, I want you to begin to think of this. Let's put it in our minds. Look what it says. Let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach into the heaven. And let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth. Number 5. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men built. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one. What would happen to a church if just the people we have become one in their talking? What would happen? No matter what takes place, what would happen? What could stop us? Nothing. Listen to it. Listen to him, what he's saying. Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do, and now nothing. What does nothing mean? Nothing will be restrained, means kept back from them which they have imagined to do. God said this to him. Anything you can imagine, he said, I can't stop it. I give you an imagination. This is how important words are to you. See, if your words are scattered, your imagination becomes scattered. See, once you set a goal, that goal should be set inside you first. Inside, you set it. Now, don't allow the words that you have get scattered. You keep them together. No matter what comes against you, don't allow those words to come out of your mouth. Now, I know what it's like, because now up till now, when we go to church, up till now, everything we had, the money that came in, now was ours to pay our bills, to do whatever we want to. Now I'm giving so much of this now to the church. And all of a sudden, we need a car. The car we got is not working too good. We're driving 36 miles to church. And when the doors are open, we're there. We didn't even question it. We're there. If we were missing, they called up and said, well, you guys all right? And we're 36. We were the furthest ones from the church at the time. We were there. If we had a revival going for a week, every night, we were there. No matter when it was, we were there. We drove. But the car all of a sudden decided, didn't want to make it. And I thought, okay, I've got to have another. I need a truck for my work. We need a car to go to church in. So we'll have to get a truck and just do both of them for now. So the only thing we could think about is we could buy a Datsun back then. And that's not very big. We got 3 boys, my wife and I. And normally a Datsun back then, even now, you get 2 people in it, and that's pretty well it. You had one too? But by buying this, I thought, I don't have the money for a down payment. We're tithers now. We're tithers. So God has to do something about this whole thing. Because we're going to see this. God says, I will rebuke the devourer off of your land. Something's getting devoured. The very thing I need to go to work and to go to church is being devoured. I have to have it. And I thought about it. The very payment, or that's not a payment to God, the very thing that God asked me to bring to Him, the money that we would bring to Him, would make the car payment. The very thing. But I still have no money to make the down payment. And all of a sudden, my boss came to me. He said, Ken, you know something? In the Presidio, we've got a big apartment building. We're getting started. We're going to be starting this thing up in about 3 weeks. And he said, I want you to go there, and I want you to take all the material and keep it up, and I'll pay you so much money to keep all the material on the job. I don't have to go to it, and will you run that thing for me? And I said, sure, I'll give you this much money. I said, okay, sound pretty good. But that much money every week wasn't going to add up to it. It's going to take me a long time. I had to have that thing right now. I went back to my boss and said, Bob, his name is Bob Bowler. I said, I have to have a new truck. If you gave me the money now up front, I could go buy the truck and I'd have it, and I'd have the money for the down payment. He sat down at his desk and wrote me out the money and give it to me. I went and bought the truck. Normally, he wouldn't do that. And I didn't have to run the job. I didn't take any material out there. I didn't do anything. He got something else he had for me to do. God put this thing together for me. Now we have a pickup truck that we have 5 people. How are you going to get 5 people in a two-seat? Back then, those Datsuns were small. At first, Mama got as close as she could to me. Darren and Trevor on her lap, Wayne on the floor. You've been that crowded? And here we were, back and forth, back and forth. And I said, God, we need a camper. We need a camper. We got to have one, put on the back of the thing. You know, like an overhead where we can get in there and sit down. We need this camper. And just so happened, we were next door to a mechanic shop next door. And I seen a camper just showed up over there that fits my truck. And I thought, man, that'd be nice in the back of my truck. The boys could have a place to sit. We could put them some padding, some back there, and they could just go back there and have a ball. They had a lot of room. So I went and asked him. He said, it's $150 for this overhead camper. I thought, you know, that's nice, but I don't have $150. So we began to think about it. God, what are we going to do? We're going to church, but we need some more room. And all of a sudden, somehow, my wife got looking into the checkbook and found out there was $150 sitting in there that we didn't even know it was in the bank. It got hid. It didn't take me long to get down there the next morning and put my truck into his garage and said, put that camper on it, and here's the money. When we got back, it was on there, lights and everything hooked up, and now we got something we can go to church on.
There you go.
I mean, little by little. See, we just come in to know God. I was raised in church. That was something that we've always known. But I didn't know the laws of Seedtime and Harvest. I didn't know it. I mean, it wasn't taught to me by my pastor, Brother McAdoo, our Pastor McAdoo. He didn't teach it. He just said, here's what I believe the Word says. But he said, he never told me what the returns would be on it. Nothing. And so I said, okay. So I began to think about this. So seedtime and harvest, the seedtime means multiplication. If you put a seed in the ground, the multiplication is going to be taking place. So I thought about that. So you must get an image of the harvest. Got to get an image of the harvest. You have to get an image. Malachi 3:10. Start at 10. Malachi 3. Everybody reads this, but we're going to read the whole. We're going to read. I'll tell you how far to go. Malachi 10. It says, "Bring ye how much of the tithe?"
Oh.
See, a lot of people say, "Well, this in the Old Testament doesn't mean anything for us today." Is it in the Bible or not? It's in the Bible, right? I'm going to show you the benefits of doing this. He said, "Bring ye all the tithes in the storehouse, that there may meat or provisions in my house, and prove me." Here's one of the very places in the Bible says you can prove me in. He never said, "Take your faith and prove me that it works." He didn't say that. But he did say it on money. He did say it on money. He said, "Prove me herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven." How many times did he ever say that the heavens open up the windows, or windows in heaven, that the heavens open up the windows and things began to take place? What happened when the windows of heaven got open? Genesis, when he said when it rained, the windows of heaven opened up and it poured water. It poured. Here again, this is the same window he's talking about. He said, "And it poured upon you a blessing that there's not room enough to receive it." Keep rolling. "And look what he said, I will rebuke the devourer for your sake. And the devourer will not destroy the fruits of your ground." That's why I told you when I first started, once you become a tither, once you start putting money aside for yourself, when hard times come, if they come, then you're going to have enough to get through this thing. God's going to get you through it.
Yes, he is.
But if you have nothing, what are you going to do? I've been putting money aside now for a few years. Once this principle began again, I've been putting it aside. I'm not touching it. And it's not in the bank. Because the day's coming, I don't know when, but the day's coming, and I can almost look at it, the day's coming when the government will shut that thing down and you can't get money out of it. What are you going to do then?
Come on now.
What are you going to do? I know what I can do. I'm going to go where it's stored. And it's stored in my house. It's mine. God told me years ago, begin to put this aside. Put it aside. Put it aside. Put it aside. Put it aside. I've been doing this. It's aside. And it's been sitting there. And it'll sit there until it's needed. What if you never need it? My grandkids will get it. They may need it. So it doesn't matter. Somebody is going to need it. Because when God says something, somebody is going to need this. It's going to need it. Somebody's going to need this. And so, wife and I began doing this. And said, and your vines, won't cast their fruit before it's time. I've noticed in my backyard that, does anybody here ever planted tomato plants? You ever, what gets on your tomatoes every so often? The big green worms, about that big around, huh?
Good for fishing.
Big old tomato worms. You know what I've seen? There's birds that come in my backyard, and I've wondered what they're doing. So I sit down and watch them. They're walking up and down the rows where my tomatoes are, and all of a sudden they'll stop and pick something off of my tomato vine. That green worm. I thought, don't you ever kill my birds. They are taking care of the devourer that's trying to take care of my tomatoes. I watched them. Because when they start out, they're little bitty guys, about this long. But they grow rapidly, eating those leaves. Rapidly, they'll grow until they're bigger. In fact, as big around as your thumb, and about that long. And they can devour the plant, and it seemed like overnight. But he said, I will make sure that this will not happen for you. It won't happen for you. Number 12. He said, all the nations shall call you blessed, and you shall be a delightsome land, saith the Lord of hosts. 13. But look at what he said. Your words have been stout against me, saith the Lord. You have said, what have we spoken so much against you? Listen to what God says to you. You have said, it is vain to serve God, and what profit is it that we should keep tithing? That's what that ordinance means. What profit is it for me to tithe? What's the profit in it? Why would you say that? Why? It's something God give to you to bring you through the hard times of your life. That, tithing is something that once I started it, I will not stop. We've gone without things in our house, but we tithe. We won't stop. We won't do that. And one of the big blessings of my life, it happened twice. It's going to happen again, and again, and again, because I'm believing God for it. That when we sold a house, we got a little bit of money out of that house. I couldn't wait to get to my own church and bring the tithing to my own church that had enough money in it to buy all the chairs that was in my church of my tithing. I thought, God, you did this for me. You did this for me. You allowed me to do this. You gave me the ability to buy that house when I had no money. I didn't have no money. When I built that house, I had no money to build a house. So I went to the owner of the land and said, I'd like to have that lot. He said, well, it's this much money. I said, I don't have any money. He said, how are you going to buy it? I said, You figure it out. I want that land. I want that lot. God says, I can have that lot. He said, I'll tell you what, Ken. He said, I've got this house. I've already got this lot. I already have the house set up. We're going to build a house on it. And we got the plans already in. Plan check. So we're going to build a house. But I'll tell you what. I'll cancel that. Get your house. Get it ready. You put yours in there. And then we'll pay for the house as it's being built. And at the end of it, you get a loan on the house, and then you pay off the whole thing, and then it's all yours. I had no money when I started. I had no money when I'm finished. When I sold that house, I had money. And I started with zero. You think I can't be thankful to God for what He did? Why? It all started back when Pastor McAdoo said, here's what you need to do. But it started years before. We did this. And I never said, what's the use of tithing? What is it? Because we're going to see what God began to do. Let me. My time is going too quick again. Leviticus 27. This is the one. I'm just going to give these. Don't put it up there. Let me give these to you. You can go read them. Leviticus 27, 30 and 31. It talks about what the tithe belonged to. All right. Number 3, money is your seed. Faith will produce the harvest. Money is the seed. Faith will produce the harvest. Money is the seed. Faith will produce the harvest. See, the seed, the corn seed is a seed, but it will not be produced until something comes out of that seed and grows. Seed has to be planted. The word says, until the seed die and be planted, it bideth alone. So you take a seed, put it in the ground, and I forgot, my wife could probably shoot it to you, and you can put it up there. I don't know, she has a photograph of my cauliflower, my broccoli and my cabbage. I just brought in last night. They're about this beautiful, about to be around. She took a picture of them. Shoot it to Irma. I don't know if she already did or not. Did she? No. She will. She's right now running to her phone. You're going to see what seed produces if you put it in the ground. But it took a while for me to develop that seed. What I did when I first started, I knew what I wanted. So I went and purchased what I wanted. I began to dig the ground, back and forth, until I had the ground so soft that I could put it in my hand and the dirt would just fall. I put food in it for the plants, called fertilize, tilled it all together. And when I put the plants in the ground for probably 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, they sat there and did nothing. Looked like, hey, they're not going to do anything. And all of a sudden, they decided, this is the place I want to be, and they began to grow. This little thing about that tall, when I put it in the ground, it is now this tall. And I just brought in a head this big around of beautiful. Last night we had soup, creamy broccoli soup out of this little guy that I planted was only this tall. You have to you got to prepare the ground. This is what's called meditating upon the Word day and night until you can see it, until you can see what you're after. I could see the plants. I could see them. I knew what I wanted. And so when I planted them, I knew exactly what they were going to do. I have 12 plants in the ground, and those 12 plants will give me enough food to last me I'll go all winter with those 12 plants. They just keep producing. I went out last night and brought that one broccoli in about this big around, and I noticed around it, little shoots like this are starting to come up around it, because the moment you cut it, it starts to begin to bring more up. He said, I'm not done. I'm going to give you more. I'm going to give you more. And I begin to see that. All of this. See, money is your seed, but faith will produce the harvest. Mark 10, 28 to 30. Mark 10, 28 to 30. Then Peter began to say unto them, Lo, we have left all, and have followed you. Jesus answered and said, Verily I say unto you, there is no man, no woman, no one has left houses, brothers, sisters, or fathers, or mothers, or wives, or children, or lands for my sake, and the gospel. But you shall receive 100-fold now in this time, houses, brothers, whatever you forsake for the gospel, you're going to get it back. You're going to get it back. It's coming back home. You're going to get houses, brethren, sisters, mothers, children, lands for the, and with persecution, with persecution, with persecution, and in the world to come, eternal life. People's going to talk about you when you begin to prosper. It's sad. It's sad. I had a few people talk to me about my new truck that God gave me a few years ago. I said, if you want one, do what I did. I didn't do anything other than what God said. There's my cabbage. Don't that taste good? There's my cauliflower. I mean, that's my broccoli. We ate that last night. In fact, we finished it up tonight before I came to church. It was too much for dinner. That made a beautiful, till you have it, you don't know what you're tasting. You go buy that stuff, it's no good compared to this. No. Thank you, woman.
I like steamed broccoli.
Pardon?
Steamed broccoli.
Have you ever seen a broccoli plant?
Yes.
They're beautiful. My wife calls them elephant ears. That's because the leaves are so big. Okay, let me go on. Number 5. God always gives you an image of the harvest, not the seed. Jeremiah 17, 5-8. Jeremiah 17, 5-8. God, see, He'll always give you an image of the harvest. Have you ever bought a package of seed and it gave you the picture of the seed?
Yes.
Or the picture of the harvest?
Picture the harvest.
If it's tomato, if it's got tomato seeds in it, it shows you the tomato it's going to develop. See, God will give you, once you plant the seed, you've got to get a picture of the harvest that you want. Do you speak to that harvest? Do you talk to it? See, these plants, the ones that you just saw, I had to water them and 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 go out there and take care of them and take care of them and water them and water them. Now, God's been watering them for me lately, but I've had to water them and take care of them. You speaking over your seed waters your seed. I believe, I receive, because I am a tither, I am a giver. I believe, I receive this seed, I put it down. This is what it's going to be. I get an image of it in my mind. And I begin to put the seed in the ground for it. And I look at that seed. And I look at the seed. No, all my eyes are off of the seed, and it's on the harvest. Because I've already put the seed in the ground. See, until it's hid, until you can't see the seed no longer. It's gone. It's hid. It's gone. But the day comes when the harvest begins to come up out of the ground. And it keeps coming, it keeps coming, it keeps coming. See, once the seed is hid, quit talking about your seed. You know what I give to God? That don't impress Him. Your faith impresses Him. I'm going to show that to you in a few minutes. Your seed doesn't impress Him. It's your faith that does the impressing. Look what He said. Thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusts in man. So get your eyes off of who you are, what you can do. And makes flesh his arm, and whose heart depart from the Lord. For he shall be like the heath. That's a withered plant in the desert. And shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, and like salted land. If you salt the ground with a lot of salt, or even salt water, what is your plant going to do? going to die. Have you ever gone to the ocean up there where the water comes up there and see plants growing? No. No. You don't do it in salty ground. Don't do it. That's what happens when you take words and you speak words over your seed and kill it. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You have to speak faith words to the seed that you have in the ground. I believe, I receive what I put this in the ground for, the seed. I believe, I receive. And as I plant it, I receive that. Never say, I don't have seed. God said He'll give seed to the sower and bread to the eater. He'll give seed to the sower. If you're not a sower, guess why you ain't got anything to sow? He said, I'll give you seed if you'll sow it. I want to get you ahead. I'm going to show you something in a few minutes. All right, which number am I on? Okay, number 5. I'm getting ahead of myself. God is not impressed with the size of your seed. He's impressed with the size of your faith. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Let me show you. Mark 12, 41 to 44. Mark 12, 41 to 44. Look at it. Mark 12. And Jesus said over against, I wonder why Jesus was doing this myself. We don't do this here, but when I was in Brazil, this is how they received the offering. When you came in, there was a big bucket, when you come in, and everybody puts their offering in as you walk in the church or as you walk out the church. No one takes up an offering. It's there. And here's this same, and I thought, this is what Jesus was doing. He said, and Jesus said against the treasury, and behold, in other words, here's where they were taking the offering, and how the people cast money into the treasury, and many were rich, casting in much. There was a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which were just a farthing. You know how much 2 mites are? Huh? 4 pennies. I just read you, if you're a giver, that God multiplies it how many times? 100-fold. When I get to heaven, I want to know what happened to her. I want to know. We don't have the story about it. That out of those 4 pennies, because the Bible said that's all she had left. That was all of her living. That's all she had is 4 pennies. What happened when one of those pennies came back 100-fold? How much is that? $4. Every penny is $1. Every penny becomes $1. If you have only 4 pennies, now you got $4, you're rich compared to 4 pennies. Okay, now what happens if out of one of those dollars she takes $1 and gives it to God? Now what is she going to get back? $400. How fast could this thing multiply by going by God's division and not by what we think? Listen to what he's saying. I'm not telling you to run out and do this. What you do is you put this in your mind and you think about it. And you pray about it. And you pray about it. And you pray about it until God says, okay, your faith is now ready to launch it. When you're building a boat, you don't launch the boat until it's ready to go. See, you launch your faith when it's ready. When you begin to multiply inside you, you got that image, okay? God says, whatever your image is, I will do that. What your image is, that's what I'm going to give you. So the image is inside of you. This woman, she said, I got 4 cents. If I give this to God, and out of that, I'm going to get $4 back, and one of those dollars get turned into 4. What happens that's $40 tithe. What happens? She took the 60. Out of the 60, that becomes $6,000. Out of 4 pennies. You say, God can't do that for me. That is true. He can't. Why? Because you just said, God can't do that for me. So don't go trying something that you are not ready. That's why I said, don't launch your boat until you're ready inside. You understand? I'm not telling you to give. I'm telling you to get your faith up. Get your faith up. It's time for you and I to become wealthy. What's wealthy? Enough to meet my needs and your needs if you need some.
That's right. Come on.
Yeah, not just, well, until I get $1 million, I'm not wealthy. Oh, yes, you are. If you got more than enough for you and you can help somebody else, you are wealthy.
Amen.
You're wealthy. You're wealthy. That's God has given me that ability. That when I get around people and God says, you know something, they need a little bit of money. Can you help them out for me? I can help them out.
That's right.
Why? In other words, I'm wealthy. I'm wealthy. I got it. I always carry it with me. Just in case God says, I want you to do this for me. Oh, yeah, you bet. Oh, you bet. You understand that? So God's not impressed with your big offering. He's impressed with your big faith. I may not have a whole lot, but if I got some big faith, He loves people with faith. Hebrews 11:6, without faith, it's impossible to please Him. But he that cometh to God must believe that He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him. That's what big faith will do. You know, you don't have to try to show people your faith. Don't do that. You just walk in the faith that you got, and all of a sudden people see your faith. People will see your faith. The devil can see your faith. He don't like you to develop your faith. That's something He don't like. So remember one thing. God is not impressed with the size of your seed. He's impressed with the size of your faith. He loves faith. He loves faith. Am I out of time? Almost, huh? 2 Corinthians 9, 6 to 8. 2 Corinthians 9, 6 to 8. But this I say, he which soweth sparingly shall also reap sparingly. And he which soweth bountifully shall also reap bountifully. Every man according, now look what it says, every man according as he has purpose in his heart. That's why I said you get it ready, get yourself ready inside before you do anything. Get your heart ready. So let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity. That necessity came big to me. Now, Sister Lois, well, I think maybe she can remember this in the old church. Every 2 years, the pastor would go to it's not Branson, but he would go to Joplin, Missouri for a meeting. It's where all the pastors went. And the presbyter of all the churches around here was from Fresno. He'd come to church. And he'd preach, and at the end of the same, he would take up an offering for the pastor. And he did it like an auctioneer. He said, I'm going to start with $100. Everybody can give me $100? Give me $100. How many hands do you think went up in our church with $100? Mine did. Nobody else did. How come? Well, who will give me 50? How many hands went up on 50? No. Well, who will give me 20? No. Well, who will give me 10? Okay, we see some hands. Who will give me 5? Okay, we got a lot of hands now. The auctioneer auctioned off the pastor just for a few dollars. And I thought, of necessity, grudgingly of necessity, no one would do that. And there was families in there that could do that. They could have done that, but they wouldn't do it. Their faith was never. They were never taught. My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. They was never taught to give, and what the purpose of giving, and what it would do for them if you did it with faith, not just doing it. Faith, add your faith to it. Do you understand that? Amen. Not grudgingly or necessity, for God loveth what? Cheerful. Give. Why? Because inside you already know. When I turn loose to this, dear God, look what's going to happen to me now. Look what's going to happen to me now. Until you see it, you cannot do it. You can't do it. I couldn't do it. But all of a sudden, I began to see what God was saying. And all of a sudden, God began to talk to me now. Now He was saying to me to do this. And when He said one of them, I said, God, you know I can't do this. He'll always tell you to do something you can't do. He has to get involved in it. He has to get involved in it. Because when he came to me and told me this one thing, and I said, okay, I'll only do it if wife agrees to it. I'm not going to do it. I can't afford it. See, I got me in there. I can't afford it. We're really, my business couldn't afford it. And I went to her because God was asking the tithes off the top of everything I get. You know, you business people, you can't do that. You can't do that. Literally, smart business people, you don't get $100,000 in and put 10 of it away, because that's, you know, right off the top. No, you pay all your bills. You pay your workers, you pay your bills, you pay everybody. Then what's left, you tithe on what belongs to you. He said, no, I don't want that. I want the top. I want the cream right on top. I said, okay, God, whatever. I went to her and she said, what do we got to lose? We're going bankrupt anyway. Let's go bankrupt doing it God's way.
There it is. Come on.
You know, we never did go bankrupt. We never did. But I've seen my income all of a sudden begin to go like this. Begin to take off. People begin to call me. People begin to pay me. People paid me. You know, I was doing work for a company in the Bay Area. Well, even when we live in here, we're traveling all over the place doing work for them. And I talked to the owner of the business. And many times, many years, Brother Angelo, they would do $1 billion worth of work. So he wouldn't just play money. This guy was doing a lot of work. And I was doing part of his. I was doing the jack-in boxes up down through here. I was doing all the jack-in boxes for him. And he happened to come out to one of the jobs. And I said, sir, one thing I'm asking of you. If you listen to me, I think you'll understand what I'm saying. I told him, I said, I'm just a small contractor. I'm not a bank. 10 days after I finish your job, I need the money where I can keep going. And I promise you this one thing. If you'll do this for me, you'll never have to call me but once and tell me that the job is ready. I will get that job done as fast as I can get it, and I'll stop everything else in my life just to take care of you if you take care of me. He said, done. Nobody that big will do that for you. No. Nobody. And when you're doing commercial, they always keep 10% until the job is finished, way out to the end, about 4 or 5 months, until they get all their money. Then they'll give you the last 10%. He gave me 100% all the time. And I had 2 contractors at the same time I was doing work for. And I said this to both of them, to the second one. I said, you know, this is what I need. And I called them up once in a while and talked to the secretary and said, this is what I need. Can you help me? She says, what's your bank account number? And I tell it to her, and she said, I'm taking a check right now to put it in your bank. They don't do that. No. They don't do that. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They did it for me. Nobody else they would do it for. They did it for me. Why? Because I believe God. God's faith will remove the mountain. Let me tell you, church. But see, once you get out there, you can't back up. You can't retreat. You got to get out there and you stay there. You believe God, stay there. Don't back up and don't you quit. Don't do it. Don't do it. Let me give you the last one. Your seed, now listen to this. Your seed determines what you receive. Your faith determines how much you receive.
Come on. Yeah.
Your seed determines what you're going to get back. But my faith tells me how much I'm going to get back.
Right.
Now, faith is substance of things that I hope for and evidence of the things I do not see. I can't see it. But faith tells me that's going to be so. So I'm going to believe faith when everything else doesn't work. Did you get anything out of this?
Amen.
If you'll go with these principles, I'm not doing this to try to tell you to get me rich. Dear God, no. I want to see you. I want to see some of you come up out of your poverty. I came out of it. I'm not in poverty no longer. I don't live there. I lived there too long. I was raised in poverty. We were poor. We didn't know it. You know, summertime, I didn't wear shoes because mother and daddy said, you know, we saved these shoes for going to church, and for wintertime. My feet were full of what we call goat heads and sandburrs. Stop and pick them out every so often. Just something you got to do. And, one pair of clothes or one pair of pants, Levi's. Remember the old Levi's back then? That sometimes you wore them so long that you could actually stand up that Levi, stand up and stand up by itself without falling over. I've been there. I know what it's like. And I've been there when my wife was pregnant with Darren, my first boy. That we went down to Bear Creek to pick up black walnuts off of the creek. We had no money. If you picked up one gunny sack full of black walnuts, it was $1. And she would be down there trying to kick them at you, a little pregnant girl, trying to show me where the next walnut was. And I don't have to take her there no longer. We don't have to be there. We don't live there no longer. Why? Because Pastor McAdoo came to me and said, if you'll do this, that's what he said, God will take care of you. God will take care of you. So I began to study this, the laws of seed time and harvest. I don't have it down perfectly yet, but I'm working on me. You work on you. I can't work on you. I can give you the principles that some of the hardships that we've gone through. And December the 3rd is Friday, the 4th, Saturday, and the 5th is Sunday. December the 5th, my first son is going to preach for me here for my birthday present. He's going to come and preach for me. He said, I want to give you a present. What is it? That's what my wife, she said, he just told me, and I'm telling you, he said, I want to give you a present. I want to come and preach this Sunday morning for you. I said, well, get yourself on down here. Come on. Come on. The seeds that God has given to me. The seeds that God has given to me. That seed there is Psalms 112. Verse 1 and verse 2. Put it up there. Let me show you. Then I'll stop and you're going to receive the offering. Let me show you. This not even the notes I had jotted down, but praise you the Lord. Blessed is the man that feareth the Lord, that delighteth greatly in his commandments. Then it said this, his seed, my kids, my children, shall be mighty upon the earth. The generation of the upright shall be blessed. That's my boys. And I told each one of my boys, I said, make sure you rise higher than I am in this earth. I went way past my mom and dad. Went way past them. They have no idea how to get to where I was or where I am now. But they did what they could. They was never taught to take the seed time and harvest and believe God and watch God do something with it. Come on, brother. This is what God has for the church. Has for you. But a lot of people cannot receive it. They say, well, all my money is mine. No, it's not. No, it's not. When you get all your ducks in order, something's going to change.
That's right.
Your life will change. Remember, it's not the size of the seed that counts. It's the size of your faith that God impresses him with. Don't never say to God, I'm sorry, this is just a little bit. He said, no, just show me your faith. Hebrews 11:6, without faith, it's impossible to please him. Without it. Without faith. Without faith. We got faith. We got faith. Every day you should get up and grow in your faith.
Yes.
Every day you should get bigger in your faith. More, you can say to this mountain that yesterday that mountain overdid you, but today you overdid the mountain. You're bigger than that. Your faith is bigger than that mountain. But then there's going to be another mountain in front of you. You're gonna have to, that's why your faith. You get your faith ready for the next mountain, and the next mountain, and the next mountain, and pretty soon those mountains are going to turn into a big, what we call a rocket ride to heaven. That's our next big thing. Our big event. Remember, though, quit looking at your money like I got to spend every bit of it. Quit spending all your money. Go without for a while. My wife and I went without for a long time. At one time, my wife, are you ready? Come on, brother. My wife wanted a can crusher. You know those things you put, your aluminum cans in and crush them? She wanted one, and they were $7. But she couldn't afford it. She couldn't afford one. I can buy 100 if I want them to put in my house now, but I don't need them. I don't need them. I don't need them. Never plant a seed, listen to me, never plant a seed and not have an image of what you want out of it. Do you understand that?
Yes.
What did you plant the seed for? It's time for you to talk to it. Talking means watering your seed. That waters your seed. Would it be foolish for a farmer to plant all those seeds and never water them? That'd be foolish. Water your seed. Water it. Speaking to it waters your seed. So begin to talk to it. See, seed, here's what I want out of you. And give it time to grow. Don't go out there and try to pick it before it's ready. Amen. See, the broccoli, the one I brought in, you saw, I got some out there, I planted at the same time, they're only about this big around. I'm not cutting them off yet. I'm glad that they're this size. Because I don't want them all in at one time. We couldn't take care of them. But they're going to come in every week. I can go out there and pick another broccoli head and do whatever we want for it. Put it in my salad, make a soup, whatever we want for it. We can do it. In other words, God has things set up to bless the kingdom, and don't stop speaking and believing that your seed is big enough. Your seed is strong enough because your faith is growing all the time. Your seed will do it. You don't have to worry about the seed. The seed will come up when you water it. Father, thank you. We receive your seed in the name of Jesus. I believe it'll come back 30, 60, and 100-fold. Father God, we're going to believe in the 100-fold. And I thank you, Father God, for that. And as it comes back, we'll just continue giving back to you, giving back to you, giving back to you. As our faith keeps growing, Father God, we will see the 100-fold begin to come in. And as it does, Father God, we will never, never forget who caused it to come to pass. And it was your faith, your word that you put inside of us, Father. And I thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Take it and do something with it. Don't forget it. Do something with it. And let God change your life. Change your thinking. If you can change your thinking, you can change your life. But if you think on the same level today, next year and the next year, you'll never grow. You're going to stay right where you're at. You've got to expand your dream. Amen. Dream. Okay. God bless you until Sunday morning.